In this module, we are going to be creating a very simple data visualization using some of the functions that we learned about in previous modules. To begin with, we are going to simply just type in Jan and Feb here as 2 months. And Excel is intelligent enough to know if you start typing in these values, if you drag them across, that they are months. And we're just going to create some fake region names here as if we were like a sales manager. So like the East, the West, Central, Midwest, Pacific, Mountain, just some made up region names here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to generate some fake data. And we're going to do this by using the RAND function that we learned about earlier. If you remember, the RAND function is basically a uniform distribution between 0 and 1. We're going to multiply that by 100,000 to generate some random numbers. And we're going to just select currency here. So we'll be able to have a nice currency value. And then we're just going to drag this across all of these cells so we can fill in some fake data. Now, if you remember from before using the RAND function, pretty much anytime we do anything within our spreadsheet, for example, if we recalculate by hitting the F9 key, it's going to regenerate new fake data for us. We don't necessarily want that to occur in this exercise, so what we're going to do is we're going to select the data that we created, we're going to copy it, and then we're going to paste it as values, so that instead of having the functions, we're now going to actually have the values that were created from the very last time. And now you can see if we hit the F9 key after we've pasted the values, they're not going to be bouncing around for us. The other thing that we're going to do is just when I create the visualizations, I like to have like a blank slate. I don't like to see these lines in the background. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just set everything in the background as white so we can get rid of those grid lines. Now, what you'll see a lot of people do, they don't give a lot of thought to data visualizations. They may just select the data and go ahead and create something like this, which is really indecipherable, mainly because this is random numbers that are just kind of bouncing around. But if these were actually having some trends in them, we would actually want to be able to understand a little bit better, and this is not the method we'd want to use. So I'm going to show you how, by using offset, we can do this. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to copy just the names of the months that we have up here. I'm going to copy those, and I'm going to just drop those down here, paste those in. And I'm going to make the background here gray, and line color is white, so that we have a little bit of a distinction in there. And then what I'm going to use the offset command like we learned about before. I'm going to reference this cell as the beginning cell, and then the value that we're going to offset is going to be an A10. And again, I'm going to use the F4 command to lock that in place. And now you can see, since I have 0 in this cell, that we're going to be on the east. If I put a 1 in there, west, central, you can see how it's bouncing around as we enter in different values here. Now I'm going to take this value and I'm going to just take it across here, and you can see the east, we've got 38,157, and we want it to be in the currency format. So what we can do is we can just take this, select on our format painter, and then we can make all of these cells basically take on that currency format here, which is great. Now you can see we're able to basically navigate this data by just putting in different values within cell A10, which is nice because we can insert a line chart here, and we can see just one of our regions at a time, which is an improvement over seeing all those scattered values that we saw in the original one. We'll take the legend away since we have it on the top here, and you can see now we'll be able to navigate and view this data. Now, what you find is sometimes if you have data that's on a different scale, this axis might bump around. Technical term there. It might go up and down based on the maximum values you have on each line. So what we can do is we can come in here and we can right-click on the axis and select Format Axis. And we can put in here the maximum as, you know, if you remember when we first created these values, we used the RAND function and we multiplied it by 100,000. So note, we are pretty confident that the maximum value we would have here is 100,000. So we now have the ability to have that locked in place and making sure that it doesn't bounce around as we move through these values. A couple other things we're going to do here is we're going to get rid of the border around the chart. We're going to select the grid lines, and we're going to format those grid lines so that we're going to have them as a little bit lighter color and as a dashed line. And now one of the things that we can do to make this even easier to navigate so that people can't accidentally type in a number that's not valid, like for example a 7 here, we can go up to the Developer tab that we learned about in our very first module when we turned this function on the tab. And we can insert, if we go to Insert, what's called a spin control, spin button. And if we select on this, we can actually draw a little up and down arrows here, 2 buttons. And if we right click on this and we select on Format Control, we can actually set our minimum value as 0, which would be referencing the original cell. The maximum value would be if this is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We want to increment by 1, and we want to connect this to our reference cell here. So now we have the ability, if we click up, we only go to mountain. It won't let us go past that. It'll only allow us to go down to east, and it makes it very easy for people to be able to select these different values and see if there's any trends among these regions on how they're performing. We can also go to these values, which we don't really care about anymore, and hide these. And for this value, we can hide that. Potentially line this up here. Maybe make these italicized. So you can see by using the offset command, we originally generated some fake data using the RAND function we learned about earlier. But using the offset command and this spin button, we've been able to create a visualization that is more interactive and allows people to gain greater insights than that original one that was just everything thrown onto one graph. Now what we're going to see in our next module is how we can do basically the exact same thing using the VLOOKUP command to create a slightly different interface for the user.